What's up, everybody? It's John Delorier, host of the Big Roofs podcast. And today I have a special guest, very special guest, someone who I've done lots of podcasts with. And he's my former coach when I owned a roofing business. Everybody say hello to Dave Sullivan.
John Delorier, what is going on, man? It's like old times.
It is. We did a podcast on your show, The Roofer Show, which I highly recommend listening to. About a month ago, and it was like old times. Today, we're going to talk about something that we talked about a lot, but it's still, guess what? It's timeless.
Still works.
Yep. Your methods of coaching and now mentoring, they're still holding up. Guess what? We're going to talk about, this podcast is about sell work, do work, and keep score. It's the three-legged stool. You should probably trademark that.
That's how simple business is, man. I mean, that's all there is to it. You just keep that stool solid. You're home free. Love it.
So what's going on with you? What's been up with you? What are you doing? What are your programs that you're offering right now? What's going on?
Well, as you know, I was a roofing contractor for 30 years and retired and sold my business, and then got a little bored. So I started that podcast about 7 years ago, I think. I've got 400 episodes. Doing that a long time. But I wanted to get back and do something, kind of reconnect with the industry. And I've been loving it. So I just keep doing it. Now I can't stop, of course. You know, what are you going to do? Stop at 400. So I'm doing that. And I do that just because I love talking to people and love getting together with you and chatting. And that's pretty much what I do. That kind of went into some coaching work. And as long as I'm just on Zoom, you know, a few hours in the morning, talking with contractors, helping them out, it's great. And I'm doing more mentoring actually than coaching now. So I've got a mentoring program where it's a monthly deal. And I just kind of walk down the path with them and keep them focused, and more of a longer term deal as opposed to just kind of, here, go do this. And then 3 months later, I get a call back and say, well, I'm back in the chaos again. So it's going great. I love doing it.
Love it. Well, let's get into the sell work, do work, keep score. Let's start with sell work. We all talk about sales, right? We talk about, everybody wants to know about how to do the best sales process and all those things. So the number one thing that you and I have talked about so many times is answer your phone. How about start there? And one of your sponsors is Ruby Receptionist. I used them a long time. I also used SMA Support. We don't have sponsors for the show, so I can just say whatever I want.
There you go.
But
they just happen to be my sponsors because I love those guys.
That's right.
And ProLine also.
Yep.
It's a great combination.
So you got to answer your phone. You need to be available 24/7, even if you're not working. And so whatever that looks like, start there. People talk about leads all the time, but they don't talk about the conversion from a prospect to actually a qualified lead, an inquiry to a qualified lead. Like we really need to focus on that, because we spend a lot of money getting people to call us or to go to our website. We have to make sure that process is not just acceptable, but it's excellent. It's the beginning of your sales process, is that speed to lead. Dave, any thoughts on that?
Definitely. And this is why there's such a low bar in our industry, you know, because the majority of the smaller companies, I mean, they just roll it over into voicemail, and nobody's going to leave a message. I never do. They're going to go to another contractor, because they're not going to leave a message because they don't think you're going to call them back, and they're probably right. So they say, why bother? So if you're not answering with a live person, you're missing out, because you're missing all these calls. And actually, I just did this thing. It's a missed call calculator. So you put in the numbers, see what it's really costing you for all these calls that you're missing. And it's amazing. I mean, so, you know, and you're right. That's the first step, because you're making that first impression, and you only have one chance to make first impression, and it better be a good one. And that's what's the beginning of the sale. We talk about touches to our customers, you know, by the time, you know, it's 4, 5, 6, 7 touches where the customer finally starts to get to know us and feels comfortable and builds trust. Well, this is the first one. This is the most important one because you're setting up that good first impression. So there you have it.
Totally. I've just done a bunch of content. I film a lot of videos for ProLine, and one of them is like, do you feel like your leads are ghosting you, your reps are flaking out, or your customers are just getting angry? Those three things can be solved by a really solid speed to lead process. It's really, really important that you understand, like, it's your responsibility to start the process, to start the sales process way before the first inspection even happens. And that's being accessible 24/7. One thing we didn't talk about, that we haven't talked about a lot, maybe once or twice, is the introduction of AI answering. And it's a really, really affordable way to start this process. You can have Ruby Receptionist. It's going to be $250 to $300 a month. I was around $600 or $700 a month based on the number of minutes they were answering. But that's still really affordable to have a live person. You can also have an AI answering service that could be the backup or could just be your primary answering. And those agents, the AI agents, really learn your business and actually answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they're going to be able to start that scheduling process, make sure that you're a good fit. They're going to do the pre-qualification questions. So just something I thought I'd throw out. I mean, the company that we like is Alivo, ALIVO. We've Max and Matt. We've seen them a lot at events this past year, and they have a really, really strong agent. They have a couple different offerings, but the main one is the agent that answers the phone, and it's doing everything that we're talking about, Dave. It's answering the phone. It's making sure that you're accessible so that sell work process actually is happening.
Do you think it's a little early for that, perhaps? Are you getting, there's still a fair amount of older customers like me, that maybe that wants to speak with that live person. Yep. And over time, obviously, that's going to wane. So I think it's definitely coming, whether it's here enough. You got to know who your customers are, about that. But yeah, it's definitely all of these things. It's the technology is just taking over.
It could be early to answer your question. It could be early. But what you can actually teach the AI agent to do is, like, let's say it's during business hours. You could teach it to say, hey, this is Sally, the AI agent that's helping the team at XYZ Roofing. They're on the other line. I'm happy to answer any questions right now. And they're going to sound pretty much like I'm talking right now.
Right.
You could also have it after hours. Hey, this is the after hours answering service. I'm an AI agent, but I can answer most any questions that you have about what we offer. And those two things, customers are generally, even it's June 2025. By December 2025, it's crazy how fast the adoption will be. And then also how well those agents are going to be able to speak and enunciate and have the correct tonality. It won't take that long, and you're just going to have a better customer experience if you can adopt that right now.
You're just got to answer the phone, and you're right. It's speed to lead because everything's moving so fast. 5-10 rings, they're not going to they're just going to move on. So you got to get back to these people early. And I know that ProLine does a great job of that, when you're getting inquiries off hours and so forth, that, a lead form or whatever, you need to get back and at least acknowledge the fact that, hey, I received your request and we'll get back to you in the morning or something like that. But yeah, that's the first step of the sale, before you do anything. So, and then, because nothing happens until somebody sells something, right? So, but we've got to have leads to sell anything. We've got to have a lead before we can sell anything. So lead generation, we've talked about that over and over again. And, it's always one of the main subjects that everybody wants to know because everybody complains about not having enough leads. And rather than doing more with less, which is doing more with each of those leads that you've got, and it's like the neighborhood domination, for instance, that we talk about all the time. We want to get one additional job for every job we have in the neighborhood. And that's, job signs, postcards, door knocking, door hangers, the whole thing. And that's how you expand on, the number of, you don't need as many leads that way.
Yep. Shout out to Brad Akers. Brad Akers is the one who helped, I think, me and you, but kind of understand real customer acquisition costs. If you're hiring a marketing agency and then spending money on ads, it's a lot more expensive than you think. And so, like you said, Dave, the neighborhood domination is one of the strategies that Brad Akers teaches. The referral system as well. So whether you're just starting out or you're doing $5 to $10 million or more, having strategies like that to get more leads so that you can actually answer the phone, so you actually can do the automated text messages for any kind of website form. That's also part of that process of selling work. Moving toward,
and this is something that also everything that we talk about is about consistency, and it's really just doing the basics. And this is the problem that I see so often, is that it's just inconsistent. So like, I answer the phone occasionally, this and that. No, you have to do it every time. Yep. We do it every time, and we do it this way. So when you have a job in the neighborhood, this is what you're going to do every time. And it's hard. It's hard to get people to do that because they're trying to do too many things. They're trying to get to the new thing, rather than just, I'm just a basic blocking and tackling guy, that's what wins games, and just doing the basics and doing them really well and consistently.
Yep. So we're getting leads. We're doing neighborhood domination. We're answering the phone. We're having automations send out for website forms. The next thing that you can do to really stand out, this is, again, we haven't done the inspection yet. You need to have automations introducing your homeowners to your sales reps. Each automation comes from the sales rep phone number, and then there's a link, and you can build this however you want. In my roofing business, we had a link to what to expect on inspection day, and I hired a videographer, and we had a script, and we filmed every single sales rep had their own video, so that whenever that person got to the door, they opened the door and they're like, "Hey, so-and-so, I've seen all your videos." And so you have built trust there. You have also stood out because you're the only one doing that anyway. And then they trust you even more because they know you. Now they're liking you and they know what to expect. It's just so much easier. You're basically selling before you're even there. That is a huge, huge thing that we did, that you can have the best brand in the world, the best referrals, all those things. But at the end of the day, it's the relationship between the sales rep and that homeowner, and how close of a bond you can make to build real value with that homeowner.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we talk about. We make when we do book the appointment, you're going to send out a confirmation. And every time you have that touch, you've got an opportunity to put some additional information, like you say, the introduction to the salesperson, and a video. Video's great. And perhaps, here's some reviews, here's some roofs that we did in your neighborhood, all of these things. That's just, again, building trust. So we started off with that first great impression by that having somebody answering the phone quickly, to now we're confirming that call, because that first sale is really turning that inquiry into an inspection. You've got to get to that point. And if you miss those, you're wasting a lot of money. And then we're going to send another one and say, hey, just want to be a reminder, we're coming out tomorrow, whatever it is. And you got a chance to send additional information. And maybe that's your insurance or something. The point being is that the last thing you want to do is be in front of the customer talking about your business, how great you are. Let me show you all these awards. Let me do this and that. And you're using that time to try to explain, try to sell your business, where all of this should have been done before you even got there. and this customer should be warm. And you go there, they're looking forward to seeing you. And again, with that low bar, you call 5 guys, you show up and the other guy's 2 hours late, So what are you going to do? We should be killing it out here, right?
It's totally true. Another thing that, as you were talking, made me think of another thing to really wow and stand out is you can have an automation built in to send one of those handwritten notes thanking them for the opportunity. It is nothing super crazy, but it's something that's different. And you have to think different. There's a book called Think Different. It's a marketing book that if you do things like that, where you're helping yourself stand out, and nobody gets mail anymore. But if you got a mail, like they have to open it up, lift up the note card, and there's ink on paper, and it's that sales rep's little message, it really does help stand out. It shows that you care. It shows that you can trust, that you put this effort into the process of selling that roof. It helps your sales rep. It's not just about like doing this thing for the company. You're helping that individual sell more jobs because of your process as an owner. It's not just about knocking doors and then pitching in the kitchen and forcing somebody's hand. It's about establishing trust, building a brand, and helping each individual sales rep win more. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. And one thing I'll add, when you do get to the house, here's a problem that I see a lot is what's your talk listen ratio? Okay. Where the inexperienced sales guy is immediately flapping his gums, talking about how great we are, blah, blah, blah. They don't care. Whiff them, man. What's in it for them? That's all they care about. Okay. So take your time, take a breath, ask a lot of questions. They will give you a roadmap on how to sell the job. If you just shut up and listen and ask questions and go, well, that's interesting. Be friendly. Look around. I mean, what do you have in common, or what are some questions that you can ask? Sales is not about, sleazy used car sales, this type of thing where you're forcing it on. It should be a natural progression. Ask the right questions, and you're taking the next step. And then there's the next step and the next step. It just, like everything, you just move slowly, listen. They will tell you how to sell the job.
Yep. It's very true. You're building that relationship and moving towards the sale. So the process should look something like this. There's people that do it better than me. But what we did is upon the first inquiry, whether it's a website form or a phone call, we had some pre-qualification questions. Once we pre-qualified that person and they said they knew that they were ready to move forward in the next 30 days with one of the services we provided, we already ordered the roof measurements at that moment automatically. Then we automatically start an amazing proposal. So this proposal is set up to tell the customer story, just like you're talking about the gum ratio that we always talk about, like how much are you flapping your gums? We're telling that customer story. We're not just talking about like, oh, we're this elite and that, preferred whatever. You got to tell the customer story. And when you do that, they will see that you've taken the time and your team has taken the time to not just rush and scribble down on a back of a napkin of like what to do. I mean, it's crazy, Dave. One of my friends, one of my neighbors right now is actually because I don't have a roofing business anymore. He's asking me about roofing and he's getting his roof done. And literally it's on a back of a piece of paper is the proposal.
Matchbook cover.
And I'm just like, this is still happening. I cannot believe it. The bar, like you said, the bar is low. So tell their story. Have an amazing proposal. Your inside sales team or your receptionist should be doing all that paperwork before the outside sales rep even gets there. Because I haven't met a sales rep who just loves to do paperwork yet. I haven't. It's a different personality type and it's totally fine. So have a process and a system so that you can help them not do the detail work and do the things they love to do, which is listen to the customer and provide solutions. So the proposal still has to be amazing, super detail oriented, and tell their story. You got to do all that, but have a process where it's all done except for the inspection photos. They just upload them up to the proposal, and they're able to present problem, solution, problem, solution, problem, solution. Listen and ask for the sale. You must ask for the sale. That's one thing that we don't talk about. We haven't talked about that much, honestly.
Yeah.
You have to ask for the sale.
Well, it should be, as I say, a natural progression where, it just flows right into that. So it's not coming right out of the blue, and whether you do a trial close and whatever, kind of a little probe, and it should just walk right into that. So, I agree. I want to step back for just a sec because we really didn't talk about, when we talk about Ruby or, that initial phone call, the pre-qualification is so important. Are we dealing with our ideal prospect? How does it fit in? Whether it's in a certain area, whether it's a certain type of roofing, certain type of customer, but we want to spend our time in front of qualified prospects that want to hear the story, that aren't, why spend our time with somebody that can't afford us? And this is where salespeople get so rushed, and they're rushing through these things, and the prospect can feel that. And if you're going out and seeing everybody, you're throwing quotes out left and right, you're not spending the time that you should by closing those good deals. And that comes from the pre-qualification, is that don't bother. You don't want to go out and spend time with somebody that is not going to buy from you. So getting that pre-qualification down is really going to help, make that sale so much smoother.
Yep.
Just thought I'd throw that in.
That's a good one, though, because it took me a couple of years of pain to not, even when I was broken in the hole, in the red, way in the red, negative bank accounts. It was hard to say no, right? You see the dollar signs, but you have that gut feeling. You know that like they're not great. They're not a great fit for me. Like I can make this work. Yeah, and every single time,
walk away.
Yeah, every single time. I knew I was supposed to walk away, and I didn't. So whether you're just starting out or you're saying yes to too many things and you're having losses, you need to track your KPIs. You need to track your profit margin, the actual dollars that you're making per project, and also the time element. How long is it taking you to complete the project? If you're like, oh, I'm going to make $10,000, but it's going to take a month, it's not a good deal. So you got to learn to say no.
And to do this, we have, and to be able to do that, you've got to have good lead flow, because you've got to have enough leads coming in where you can pick and choose and take the cream off the top. And you need to be marketing all the time and market to the right people. Make sure that you're spending your money wisely. But it's surprising on, how so many contractors, they just don't market, or they do, they'll be out of leads, throw some gasoline on this little small burning fire. Can't understand why they're not just pouring in. Yep. So, yeah.
Very true. Very true. So we've sold the job, right? Let's don't forget the most important thing, the most value that ProLine actually brings to most companies, whether you're big or small, is the sales follow-up. So you've done all these amazing things. That's great. You have an amazing proposal. You had great rapport, or you didn't have good rapport with the customer. You take the emotion out of it. While you should be doing manual follow-ups, you should be calling people. If you leave the home and there is not a signed contract, you need to follow up the next day. Ask when they're going to make a decision. They may give you some ambiguous answer. Okay, fine. If they don't give you a day, then follow up the next day. Call them the next day. And in my ProLine, we had next day, 3 days in a row, we were texting and emailing that customer automatically from my phone number so that we had the same top of mind. They may not have wanted to say, I'm getting 3 more quotes. Okay, that's fine. Eventually, you got to get to the point where, hey, we don't want to bug you, but we just want to stay top of mind. And we want to show you that we want to work with you. And this is all coming from automated text and email.
Right.
When are you going to make a decision about your roof? And then they would tell you, oh, it's going to be next Friday. Mm-hmm. Great. I'll follow up with you next Friday. So new date, next Friday, guarantee the automation goes on that day. So You did what you say you're going to do every single time. I don't care if you're going on vacation or you're sick or whatever. You're going to text and email that customer on next Friday, and they're going to be impressed. The number of times I heard a customer say, "You actually did it," was astonishing because no one else does. And so the sales follow-up is huge. It drastically increased my close rate. And so I don't care if it's ProLine or not. You need to have a really solid follow-up process. You should be using technology because there's just not enough hours in the week to actually do the appropriate number of follow-ups. So that's the most important thing. That's the best ROI for ProLine in general.
I agree.
It is
absolutely.
It's a no-brainer. You will increase your close rate. You will increase the morale in your company because the sales reps will love it because they won't have to do all that follow-up they were supposed to be doing and not doing. Yeah. And obviously, as an owner, you're going to be happier too because you're going to be selling more jobs. So we're going to stop there with sales, with the sell work leg. There's a lot to talk about.
Okay, well, we've sold all this work, but do we have the people to do it now? So we go to our second leg, and it's again keeping that stool in balance is what it's all about. So you either have all these, you have all these guys sitting on the bench ready to go, but no work, or you got too much work, can't get the work done, so you're throwing B and C players out there, and they're screwing it up, and you don't have your process down. So this is why we've got to have that stool in balance. And where I see the screw ups for the most part is in that handoff. So now we've sold the job. Well, it's going to production. So how does that handoff look? Are we going to fumble it? Well, many times we do because we didn't explain all the small little things that we told our customer that we were going to do and this and that, and it just gets lost in the translation. That's what I think. What do you think?
It's one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to record every phone call, every text message, every email, all in one activity feed. So it doesn't matter how many team members are assigned to that homeowner's project. Every single team member knew every communication. And so you reduce those redundant calls, texts, and email. Hey, what's going on with Mr. Smith? Oh, I got to explain it. I got to stop what I'm doing and explain you what's going on. Oh, yeah, he mentioned this. Well, it's already there. Phone call stops in ProLine. A little window pops up and you can dictate, hey, Mr. Smith really wants to protect his roses. He's got landscape lights in the back. Cover up the table on the deck. So you have an annotated little section 2 for each phone call on top of the recording. And then not to mention every single text message to and from the homeowner and every email. And there's just no excuse at that point. When you have a handoff, even if you have a terrible process, if you have that, it is very difficult to actually screw that part up. If the sales rep is doing what they're supposed to do, which is to set the production team up for success, it makes it really easy, more efficient, more effective, and you continue that 5-star experience. Not to mention, Kathleen was amazing. She was calling the homeowner, texting the homeowner, emailing the homeowner, then sending out material orders to a supplier, sending out work orders to our roofing crews, and then keeping track of all that directly into ProLine. Now, ProLine has drastically evolved since I sold my business. There's now jobs. They're called jobs within ProLine. So if you were multi-trade, that was a huge thing for us. All we did was roofing and gutters. Well, if you do roofing, gutters, siding, paint, we won't go into that, Dave. We think the riches is in the niches. But there's a lot of guys out there that do different trades. Even if you do 2, having jobs in ProLine, you can keep the customer on the same page with the roof, and then you schedule the gutter crew as well, and they're still on the same page because it's all separated out. So because the gutter crew is different than the roofing crew, and you want to keep that on your calendar directly into your production team so they know it. It's really important to have clarity. That's what we're learning every single day from other roofing contractors what makes the most sense and how to build our software. But you need clarity. You need it to be super clear to the production team, both if it's a site superintendent or like an in-office production manager. They need to see exactly what's going on from that sales. Those salespeople, we all know they're
right.
like promising the world. And so we have to make sure that we're all on the same page with that.
Yeah, definitely. So I agree. You know, all you've got to do is look at Google 1-star and 1 and 2-star reviews. It's always some kind of communication screw up. You know, they didn't call me. I was surprised that they're coming out here. They didn't show. They came for a couple of days and now they're gone. Where the hell did they go? I can't get hold of them. You know, it's all about that communication. And that's what, you know, Kathleen did such a great job of. And it's just always staying on top of that because it's again, it's the basics. Keep in touch. That's what's going to get you that 5-star review because you're giving them a 5-star experience, as you say.
It's true. Talk about like the pre-job meeting, pre-job budget, having photos, clean up, the perfect 10. What you talk about this all the time, Dave. Explain that, what was important to you in your business and what you've been coaching other contractors for.
Well, in my business, we did commercial for the most part, so we did larger jobs, but it's just all about planning. So the first thing is you get your job package together, you know, and we're going to go out there. What we would do is we'd have our estimated man days, and we'd be out there with the foreman, salesman, and our superintendent. So the 3 of them are out there, and we would have the foreman go out and do his rough estimate. How many man days is this going to take you to do the job? And then we're going to compare with what the salesman came up with. And, you know, shocker is that usually the sales guy is too aggressive. And that's what, it's getting that everybody on the same page. And before they came off the roof, they had to agree on the number of man days. And that's what the superintendent was there for. He's basically the referee for the most part. And we're going to come up with something. Otherwise, I got to come into my office and talk to me. And then we're going to be talking commission cuts and so on and so forth. So you've got to have a budget agreed upon. Now, you know, so many of you guys use subcontractors, so it's a little different, but your own employees, which I recommend everybody should be using, this is their own employees for all kinds of various reasons. But, you've got to start off the job with the budget, with how long is it going to take us? So we're all together. And now we're going to stay on track and we're going to track this as we go, and we're going to hold everybody accountable. And I want to know, well, what do you mean we're running late? Okay, we're behind. Well, if we are, that's when we can do something about it. You know, when we realize, hey, you know, it looks like we're getting off here, take a time out. What are we going to do here? We got to regroup, and we got to come up with a better system somehow of getting this job done. And if you're not having the budget together and everybody knows that, I mean, sometimes contractors, they're afraid to give the guys a budget. I mean, you know, what? No, it's a team. We're going to hit these targets and get that done. The pre-job that we do is so important. We have a process that we go through. And the first thing is we go, what can go wrong? Okay. Cause it probably will. So it's check the box. Okay. You know, and we go down and we look at all the things that can happen and so forth. And we've gone through it. Now we know we're ready to start. And it's just all this job preparation and good planning. You know, I learned that when I sent the guys out. I scratched a job sheet up and went out and get a call from the neighbor and, hey, why are you tearing my roof off? I gave him the wrong address. Okay. So that was a good lesson. But yeah, you've got to everybody be on that same page and be able to communicate that. And we're getting off to a good start. And she's mentioned we're going through the job. We're in contact with the customer the whole way. And then when we get done, this is something that we came up with. Again, we had to solve a problem that we had where we were having the same complaints, the same, you know, dirty job site, whatever, when we left, or, you know, nails or whatever, or we would have certain leaks. We had a lot of leaks at, you know, particular outlet flashing that, you know, out here we have. So we came up with this form. It's called the Perfect 10. And there's 10 items, the top 10 items that screwed up all the time. And they would have to go through and check that. I want a photo of what it is. And they check it off. And if they get a perfect 10, they get a bonus for the crew. And it worked out great because it took our warranty, our callback costs that were just out of control, not to mention you're getting crappy reviews from these guys because your roof's leaking or whatever. So this solved that problem. And that was the perfect 10. We just came up with that idea. It's clever. And again, we're always looking to improve. So every time we get this problem, we would tweak it. And so we came up with this program. And that's something that we can use, even with, I talk to a lot of my coaching clients where, we use subcontractors, but we have no quality control and so forth. Well, this is a perfect opportunity to use that. Here are the things that go wrong, right? Nails in the lawn, all of these same problems. And if you have that perfect 10, you have them snap a picture, they're going to remember, oh yeah, I've got to remember to do this. You are going to have a lot less problems with your subs or your employees if you do those things and have them check. And that means you don't have to go out there and do you don't have to be babysitting these guys all the time. That's a huge problem. You can't do that. Company cam photos constantly, I want to be updated what's going on and we want to see what's happening. Call the customer, let them know. So it's, having that process. We did the same thing every time. Go through the checklist, on the jobs, on the pre-job, go through it. And then we're done with the job. And then we would have the final walkthrough, get the review, and everybody's happy. And get the last guy off the ladder, grab the check. But yeah, and it really, it went well because there's so much slippage on these jobs on the production end. And they don't, spend enough time making sure that we're not going to have screw ups. The money is made in the sale. Production's job is to protect that profit. Okay. So they've got to hit those targets and we've got to, they have to understand that. So, so you're not, it's easy to leak, 3, 4, 5 points off the job, off your gross profit, and that's the job. You're screwed.
Yep. Totally. I love it. I mean, we talk about this a lot. I know we beat it at a horse on all this stuff, but having a pre-job budget in your CRM helps the sales team understand, okay, this is what it's going to take. And then there may be notes as well. It's like, even if you're using subcontractors, hey, check out these pictures from the inspection. These are solutions. It's going to cost X amount of dollars. And so you build that in. So before the job even starts, you should have, if everything goes well, you should have a great profit margin and you should be able to show that value for the presentation. Now, a little side note about subcontractors in general. I was very fortunate. I had amazing subcontractors. I worked for years, almost 11 years, actually, because I worked with them with other companies. And we had a very clear understanding on expectations. I want to touch on that really quick. They're subcontractors. You need to set expectations like, hey, if you're the foreman, I need you to be on the site. And if you're off the site getting lunch for the guys, or you had to go do something, whatever it is, I need to know the number 2 guy. And so I can communicate with that person. If I'm the sales rep or you don't have a site superintendent, you need to make sure that those leaders are always on the job site. Secondly, the most important thing that was hard we want to make sure we're installing per manufacturer's requirements. That's actually I shouldn't gloss over that because a lot of crews just don't do it and they don't care. Right. So making sure that your roof system's installed the way the manufacturer requires, there is some pushback. So make sure that's done. But most importantly, company cam pictures, like you mentioned, Dave. I don't want company cam pictures at the end of the day. It does no good. Mm-hmm. I want company cam pictures throughout the entire day. And if you need to set an alarm on your phone every 30 minutes or every hour, especially during the tear off, I want to know how many sheets of rotten decking. I actually saw in a video, Trust Roofing I think they're in Florida. They spray paint each one of their deck the deck boards with a number. So 1, 2, 3, and then they take a picture of it because they want the customer to know, like, this is not the same. We're not taking a picture at this angle and this angle. No. There's a number on the board. I thought that was amazing. And if I started a business again, we'd be doing that. So again, I know there's a huge challenge between W-2 and then 1099 subcontractors for install crews. These are just some ideas and tips that I've learned throughout the years. Just setting real clear expectations. Also pricing. Hey, pay your guys the best. Do it. Even if you have to take a couple point hit, it's worth paying your crew better because they will prioritize you and you can scale and grow better. As they're getting work from other sources, you're able to kind of trump all those other sources because you're the one that's paying $5 more a square, $10 more, whatever it is. So just care about your crews. Just take care of them, respect them, give them what they need, make sure your material order is correct. I also ordered extra material every single time. Kind of going back to the material thing, I always ordered a little bit extra so that they didn't have to stop what they're doing, wait for more material to get there, and then maybe do it the next day. So it's a huge deal to have empathy and to really respect your crew in that way. So
definitely, whether it's your people or it's your sub crew, you got to take care of them. You take them sodas, you take them sandwiches, and as you say, show some respect, and appreciation, because this is why most people leave their current job is because they don't feel appreciated or respected. And, it's not necessarily over money. And most, there's a lot of contractors, let's say, that just treat their guys like crap. And the same thing with the subcontractors, hey, I'm just going to grind them away, and get the cheapest price. Well, no, that's your team. That's your team members. And this is where, you'd mentioned you do your jobs a certain way. Well, that's the thing. When they say, I don't have to do that at XYZ company, and say, I don't care. This is how we do it at our company every time. Yep. Every single time we do it the same way. And, we're going to pay you well for it, but this is how we're going to do it. And we're going to build that culture in our business where people understand that this is quality. We take care of our people. We retain our people. And that's how you grow a business.
Yep. All right. So typical John and Dave former rambling on. Let's move on.
Here we go.
Let's move on to keep score.
Where's the guy that's supposed to reel us back in?
We don't have that guy today. All right, so
we're gonna keep score.
Yeah.
Okay, what's that?
All right, so we've done the pre-job budget. Everything you're saying, Dave. We've done the perfect 10. All those things are great. We want to continue that 5-star experience and make sure that we do the perfect 10. So let's talk about the first thing that you really should focus on. You want to focus on profit first. A review is great. It helps build your business, but you need to focus on profit. So like I mentioned, we always order extra material, or we think we do. And we always had a return. So I would have Tisha, my virtual assistant who worked with me for 5 or 6 years. She would always reconcile. Great. She's amazing. She would reconcile every single job every single day so that our pre-job budget was actually slightly different than our post-job budget. And we wanted to know, like you taught me this a long time ago, Dave, the variance. Like how much positive or negative is that variance? And, in ideal world, it's a couple points more profit because of the return of the material. Like we didn't have a labor change. There wasn't any additional charges for rotten decking. There wasn't multiple layers of shingles. So there wasn't a change order, but we did have a return. So the material order was actually less than the projected amount. And so you should have a little bit more profit. It's super important to do that every single day. If you can do it once a week, that's fine too. But I would meet with Tisha every single week and we would go over every single job and we would make sure that they're all done. If she had a question, we'd make sure that's done every single week. It's a huge game changer for my business because I was meeting with her once a month. It's not enough. You need to do it every week. And especially if you're doing large volume. You may need to meet with people every single day and have a 30-minute meeting every day. If you're doing 300, 400 roofs a year, it's probably every day. It makes the most sense to have a full-time bookkeeper that's making sure each job is exactly how it's supposed to be. That's the number one thing about keeping score is have a CRM that actually does it. All the payments are in there accurately so that your reporting is accurate. Super important to have. We have merchant processing in ProLine. So they can take ACH and credit cards. You can take a physical check and then just put the number in and it'll still be accurate. It's really important to keep score of every single job so that the reporting is accurate. So you really know what your profit margin is, what your actual dollars of profit per job is. So you know, like, okay, I want to do $1 million in profit. Well, I make $10,000 per roof in gross profit. This is what I got to do. This is how many roofs I got to sell. We do the reverse engineering like Dave taught me so many years ago. That's the number one thing. The second thing is the review generation. So you've given a 5-star experience. You've done an amazing sales journey, amazing production journey. Everything's perfectly clean. You've done the neighborhood domination. So you're getting referrals. It's really important more than ever to get reviews. I figured that out almost 10 years ago, how important it was. And so a customer, if you're asking for the review or they're not home, they've taken their kids to soccer practice, you don't get to physically hand them an iPad so that they'll do the review right there. That's most of the case for us. Have a text message and an email coming from the sales rep or the production manager's phone asking for the review. Send at least 5 reminders and you'll get more reviews. You will, because they had a great experience and they know they want to, they just keep forgetting. They get busy. Their life is busy.
Right. Exactly.
If you remind them 5 times, it's super likely you're going to get the review.
You've got to get those reviews. And it's just, you're right. Having a process, having it done the same time every year. Something that we did on our reviews, and I talk about, is using reviews as part of the sales process. And when you're selling the job, saying, hey, Mrs. Jones, our goal is going to be to give you a 5-star experience because I'm going to ask you for a 5-star review at the end of the job. Now, I know that if I don't provide you that 5-star experience, I'm not going to get the review. Is this a good place to start? What's she going to say? Well, of course, that sounds great. Okay. So now you've planted that seed already. Hey, remember when we were talking about those reviews? Again, it's a natural progression in here. It's not a big, what are you talking about? No, I remember, I'm going to ask you for it. And assuming we did this, gave you that 5-star experience, love to have that review. So
love it.
A little tip.
It's totally true. So keep score, we could go on and on and on, but keeping score is breaking it down like this. Make sure your CRM has a great budgeting tool built in.
Yeah.
Make sure it integrates with QuickBooks. Make sure you have at least a virtual assistant that meets with you every week, and then have an amazing CPA that actually helps you with all the other tax it's a tax game. We know this. And so that's kind of the framework for keeping score. Have a platform that helps you make it easy and make sure that you're actually tracking real profit dollars and real profit margin, and then have a team or at least an outside virtual assistant that helps maintain that every single week. And that's it.
Yep. Along those lines with, we're talking about it's not what you make, it's what you keep. So you better have a good tax accountant. That's different. The other thing that you need is a bookkeeper that understands construction accounting, because it's different than regular accounting. It's not like doing the dentist down the street, the dry cleaner. We're talking about job costing and these type of things. So it's different. So you've got to have somebody that understands that and can produce the reports that matter. And I want to just touch on this because this is important. One of the biggest problems that I see is when we go into, let's take a look at the books. Well, first off, out of the box, which is how most people have their QuickBooks, it's not the chart of accounts is not set up the way that it should be for a construction business. So getting those books right at the beginning is critical, getting that set up. So what we have to do most of the time is come in here and straighten it out. And we call that a cleanup. And, Tisha, I work with Tisha a lot. She's awesome. So she's got this program down, but you've got to go through and get it cleaned up. So we're starting off at a good point. Now we can move through this and we're getting good information. But it's amazing how many times I'll work with a contractor. I go, I don't know what the hell's going on here. I can't read this. This doesn't sound, and we finally get it straightened out. And, oh, well, you thought you were making money, but surprise. And really getting that straightened out. Then having a good bookkeeper that stays on it. Now, the one thing that we do, I want to see a financial statement by the 15th of the following month, every month. And if you're not getting those, how are you going to run your business? So we get that report, we get those financials. And what I do in my mentoring program is we sit down with the three of us, contractor, bookkeeper, myself, and we go through line by line. And we generally find some kind of mistakes on there that were a problem. But most important is that contractors just don't like the numbers for the most part, and they don't understand the financials. And you have to understand what they mean. And this is what I do is I work with them to, teach them what the numbers mean, because it's all about the numbers. If you don't understand that and what the financials mean, how are you going to drive your business? So once you learn to do that, and we have our KPIs, we're checking certain things so we know where, what our costs are, so we know what we need to charge for, to make a profit. We review all of that. Then you've got the balance sheet. Well, nobody understands the balance sheet, but cash is king. There's a reason why they say that. And you've got to look at that cash balance, make sure your quick ratio is in line where you've got enough money to pay your bills, and you've got a cash flow analysis coming in. And we do that every month, so we know if there's a problem. Some of these companies, they're upside down. I mean, the number one reason why companies go out of business, because they run out of cash, can't pay the bills, and that's because you're not charging enough money for your jobs, and you're losing money, and you probably don't know it until you run out of cash. Game over. So that's the deal there. And the last thing is that CPAs generally don't know what the hell they're doing when it comes to advising, particularly with construction companies. Again, it's a different animal. Your bookkeeper does the day-to-day. You're talking about getting management reports so you can manage your business. Tax accounting is what your CPA does. He does tax returns. You don't want your CPA doing your bookkeeping and so forth. You want him to be somebody that's going to bang your taxes down. That's going to put you in the best position to keep as much as you can, and that's can be different. That tax return is going to be a totally different animal than your financial statements that we're using to manage our business. For instance, we always talk about you got to be taking a salary, which is an overhead expense. Well, I take a distribution and so forth. Well, that's fine, but that's a tax situation. Okay. I don't care how you take your money out, but we do have to know how much in salary that we're going to be taking each year. And it should match up with what you could go replace yourself for, because at some point you're going to have to bring somebody in to do your job. And if you're not accounting for that, what the hell are you going to do? I would say one last thing as far as profitability and well-run business. Okay. And this is just a wild, just as a rule of thumb. Okay. Is that you want to be taking you should be taking at least 10% of sales as your salary. So if you're doing $2 million, you should be taking at least $200,000. Okay, 10%. In addition, you should be making 10% plus net profit. Okay, at the end, what's left over. And I'll talk to these contractors and they go, oh yeah, I made 15% net profit. Oh, well, what'd you take out in salary? Well, I don't take a salary. I'm taking a salary. And I'm like, well, no, that's not a well-run company. That's not a profitable company. And you need to know that and measure that. What is a profitable business? What is where you should be? Everybody's talking about selling their companies to private equity and so forth. Hey, that's great. But you need to set your business up accordingly, and they're going to be looking for all of these things, and you better have your numbers together, So probably enough of that, huh?
Well, we've said this a lot.
We beat the horse, beat the dead horse.
But it's a good horse. It's a good horse to beat. Dave, tell everybody about your mentor program. I mean, it was really quick. I was introduced to the Roofer Show a long time ago, listened to 17 episodes in a week, said, this guy knows what he's doing, started listening to it more and actually implementing what you taught on the actual podcast. We started, working together. You were my coach for a while. Then I was on the Roofer Show podcast as your co-host. It's been very important and helpful for me and my business. And I know that you provide huge value to other roofing contractors. You have tons of clients. Tell us about the mentor program.
Well, after doing coaching, one-on-one, hourly type of thing, as I said, we'll go for a little while and then stop and then, come back and they've got problems again. It's like golf. If you want to have a golf pro. If you want to play golf and you want to enjoy the game, you got to have a golf pro. And you just don't go in, here once in a while. You got to kind of stay with it. And this is what I found with coaching clients is that they just stray off the path. You get bogged down in the chaos, and the next thing you know, you got the same problems you did before. So I found with mentoring, which is different than coaching, it's not go do this and you'll be fine. It's more of a let's walk together. Let me show you as we go, and we kind of stay on that path, hold you accountable over the long term, because trust me, it's a long, it took me a long time to become an overnight success. Okay. So, you got to hang in there, and you got to, again, the consistency. So what I do is that I have a monthly subscription, $495 a month. Yes, it's giveaway, but I'll meet with you twice on a one-on-one. We get our business plan put together first. So, and our action plan. So we've got our steps that we're going to follow, and we're going to set that up, and then going to have another session, midway through the month, how to go. And we make some adjustments and so forth. And then additionally, we do that, review, the financial review at the end of the month. I will teach you how to understand your numbers and run your business by the numbers. And then in the meantime, I'm available for, quick calls or chat or whatever. And it's turned out really well. And I think we're seeing a lot more success, more long-term success, with some of these contractors. So pretty straightforward, pretty simple, like everything I do. And that's it. No contract, no, quit anytime if you don't like it. So it's worked out pretty well. I enjoy it.
How do they find you?
Love what I'm doing, man. They can find me at theroofershow.com. Check that out. And the easiest way is go to my contact page. There's a big button. Click it and set an appointment. Love to chat with you. Free call. Let's talk about your business. See if I can help you. And, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Just go to the website. My email, dave@theroofershow.com.
Love it. Well, Dave, it's always good to see you. Thanks again for coming on.
Likewise. When are you coming back on the show, man? It's just not the same.
Call me, text me.
Maybe. There you go. All right, John. Hey, great to see you, man. I appreciate it.
Good to see you too, Dave.